Ashes of Silence. For 8 millennia, the Galactic Coalition brought order to the stars. What began as scattered alliances between the Vraxians, Tellurians, and Morveth had evolved into the most sophisticated governing body the universe had known. 300 species, 4,000 star systems, one harmonious existence. The Coalition's credo, unity through order, adorned every diplomatic vessel and trade outpost from the core worlds to the fringe territories. Commander Ilara Voss stood on the bridge of the Coalition flagship Eternal Dawn, her crystalline skin catching the starlight as she gazed at the tactical display. As a Tellurian, she embodied their species' legendary patience and tactical brilliance. For 2 decades, she had served as the Coalition's foremost peacekeeper, resolving conflicts before they began and maintaining the delicate balance between member species. Commander, her second-in-command, Zentel, interrupted her thoughts. The Vraxian's multiple eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of agitation among his kind. Long-range scanners have detected an unidentified vessel at the edge of Sector 7. It's not matching any Coalition signatures. Ilara's expression remained calm, but her inner membranes pulsed with concern. Unidentified vessels were rare in Coalition space. Everything was cataloged, tracked, and monitored. "Show me," she ordered. The holographic display zoomed toward the outer rim of Sector 7, revealing a small battered craft barely larger than a standard escape pod. Its design was primitive, with obvious welding marks and mismatched components, a testament to desperate resourcefulness rather than elegant engineering. "It appears to be modified from multiple technologies," Zentel observed. "Some components are from Meridian trade vessels, others from Morveth mining equipment, but the core design..." He hesitated. "The core design doesn't match anything in our database." Ilara's inner membranes pulsed faster. Life signs. 1. Biological signature is unusual, carbon-based, but the pattern is unfamiliar. "Bring it aboard," Ilara decided. "Full containment protocols. Alert Chief Scientist Thoril and Security Director Krell." Within the hour, the mysterious craft was secured in the Eternal Dawn's main hangar bay. A containment field hummed around it as Ilara approached, flanked by Krell, a hulking Morveth whose exoskeleton bore the marks of countless battles, and Thoril, a Vraxian renowned for her xenobiological expertise. "Fascinating construction," Thoril murmured, her eyes independently scanning different parts of the vessel. "Whoever built this had limited resources but remarkable ingenuity. The radiation shielding has been improvised from what appears to be cooking equipment." Krell grunted. "Can it be a threat?" "Unlikely," Thoril replied. "Its weapons systems, if they exist at all, are minimal." The craft's hatch suddenly hissed open, releasing a cloud of vapor. Everyone tensed, weapons raised. A figure emerged slowly from the mist, bipedal, roughly the height of a Tellurian, but with unmistakably different physiology. It wore what appeared to be a patchwork environmental suit, assembled from various materials like the craft itself. The being removed its helmet to reveal a face that struck Ilara as oddly balanced. 2 eyes, a central nasal structure, a single mouth. Its skin was a pale brownish tone, and dark hair covered parts of its head. But what caught Ilara's attention were the eyes. Deep brown, filled with an intensity she had rarely encountered. "I am Commander Ilara Voss of the Galactic Coalition vessel Eternal Dawn," she stated formally. "Identify yourself and state your purpose in Coalition space." The being stared at her for a long moment, then spoke in a rough, accented voice that somehow conveyed both exhaustion and determination. "My name is Marcus Reed. I'm human. From Earth." He paused, studying their reactions. "But I guess that doesn't mean anything to you." Ilara maintained her composure. "Earth is not registered in Coalition databases. Is it a colony world?" A bitter smile crossed Marcus's face. "No, it was a homeworld. Until your Coalition decided it shouldn't exist anymore." An uncomfortable silence fell over the hangar bay. Krell moved his hand closer to his weapon, but Ilara gestured for restraint. "I have no knowledge of such an event," she said carefully. "The Coalition documents all first contact scenarios and planetary engagements. If your world suffered some calamity—" "Calamity?" Marcus interrupted, his voice hardening. "Is that what you call orbital bombardment? Systematic genocide? The murder of 8 billion people?" Forel's eyes widened in shock. 8 billion. That's impossible. The Coalition would never. "Orbital strike code-named Operation Silence," Marcus continued relentlessly. "Authorized by the Coalition Council under Directive 7-912. Date stamped from your calendar. 3472.8.16. The official record states Earth was cleansed due to incompatible societal structures and unacceptable independence risks." Ilara's inner membranes nearly stopped pulsing. The code pattern was legitimate. She recognized the format of classified Coalition operations, but the scale described was unthinkable. "How did you survive?" she asked quietly. "I was off-world. Mining operation on our moon," Marcus answered, his voice hollow. "Front row seat to watching everything I ever knew burn. 17 of us survived initially. I'm the last one now." "And you've been, what, wandering the galaxy since then?" Krell growled skeptically. "Learning, adapting, finding the truth." Marcus's eyes locked with Ilara's. "It took me 15 years to piece together who was responsible and why. 15 years of scavenging, hiding, trading for information. And now I'm here." "For what purpose?" Ilara asked, though she suspected the answer. "Justice," Marcus said simply. "Or revenge. I stopped seeing a difference a long time ago." Ilara signaled to her team to step back for a private conference. "This cannot be accurate," Forel whispered urgently. "A purge of that magnitude would require council authorization at the highest level. There would be records." "Unless they were erased," Ilara countered. "We've all heard rumors of cleansing operations in the early expansion era, planets deemed problematic." "Rumors," Krell insisted. "Nothing more." "We need to report this to the Council immediately," Ilara decided. "The human will be held in secured quarters until—" A blinding flash erupted behind them. When their vision cleared, Marcus was gone, and in his place stood a small, blinking device. "Proximity bomb," Krell shouted, but it was too late. The device didn't explode. Instead, it emitted a powerful electromagnetic pulse that rippled through the ship, disabling primary systems. Emergency lights flickered on as Ilara heard alarms blaring throughout the vessel. "All security teams, locate and apprehend the human intruder," she ordered into her communicator, but only static answered. The EMP had disabled communications. By the time systems were restored 2 hours later, Marcus was gone. So was his craft, and something else. The ship's central data core containing classified Coalition directives dating back 3 millennia. The Council convened an emergency session aboard the Coalition capital station, Harmony's Reach. Representatives from 18 founding species gathered in the Grand Chamber, their agitation evident despite the formal protocols. High Councilor Drav, a Vraxian elder whose carapace had yellowed with age, addressed the assembly. "Commander Voss has shared deeply troubling claims from this human. Before we proceed, I must ask, is there any truth to the allegation that the Coalition authorized the destruction of a populated world called Earth?" Silence greeted his question until Archivist Pellin, a Tellurian with skin so transparent her neural pathways were visible, stepped forward. "I have conducted an exhaustive search of Coalition records," she stated. "There is no planet designated Earth in any database. However," she hesitated, "there is a curious gap in the expansion records from the period the human mentioned. Sector 42B shows evidence of data purging approximately 327 standard years ago." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Data purging was a serious violation of Coalition principles. "This human is clearly delusional," declared War Minister Thorne, a Morvath whose scarred exoskeleton testified to his military experience. More importantly, he is dangerous. He infiltrated our flagship, disabled our systems, and stole classified information. He must be neutralized immediately. Ilara stepped forward. With respect, Minister, if there is any possibility his claims are true, we have an obligation to investigate. The alleged death of 8 billion sentient beings cannot be dismissed. Your sympathy is misplaced. Commander, Thorn snapped. The human has already made his intentions clear. He seeks not truth but vengeance. As if summoned by those words, every display in the council chamber suddenly flickered in change. Marcus Reed's face appeared on every screen. To the leaders of the Galactic Coalition, he began, his voice calm but edged with steel. For centuries, you've built your peace on buried atrocities. Your harmony is a lie written in the ashes of those who refuse to submit. The council members stared in shock as Marcus continued. I just disabled Outpost Vega 9. No casualties. This time. Consider it a demonstration of what one human can do against your perfect system. His eyes seemed to bore into each viewer. I have the evidence of what you did to Earth and 17 other worlds. In 7 days, I will broadcast it across every communication channel in Coalition space, unless the full Council publicly acknowledges these crimes. The transmission ended, leaving stunned silence in its wake. Seconds later, emergency alerts confirmed that Outpost Vega 9, a critical communications hub in the fringe territories, had indeed gone dark. War Minister Thorn rose to his feet. This is an act of terrorism. I am activating the Sentinel Protocol. Every Coalition vessel is now authorized to terminate this human on sight. As the Council erupted into panicked debate, Ilara stood silent, her mind racing. She had spent her life upholding Coalition ideals of peace and justice. But if those ideals were built on covered-up genocide, what was she truly defending? And if one human could bring the mighty Coalition to such disarray, what might have happened if his entire species had survived? Reckoning dawn. The Coalition war machine mobilized with unprecedented speed. Within 48 hours, 200 warships had deployed across key sectors. Sentinel drones patrolled trade routes and outposts. Every scanning system was calibrated to detect human biological signatures. The Coalition, masters of 1,000 worlds, had turned its full might toward finding one man. On the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, now serving as command center for the hunt, Ilara reviewed tactical displays with growing frustration. Nothing, she reported to the holographic images of the council members. Despite our efforts, we found no trace of the human or his vessel. He cannot have simply vanished, War Minister Thorn growled. Expand the search parameters, increase interrogation of fringe traders and station personnel. We're already at maximum deployment, Ilara countered. And our aggressive questioning is causing unrest among neutral systems. We risk destabilizing our relationships with. Stability is secondary to security, Thorn interrupted. This human has threatened the very foundation of the Coalition. Nothing is more important than neutralizing him. After the Council transmission ended, Zentel approached Ilara cautiously. Commander, I've been analyzing the human's attack pattern on Outpost Vega 9. Something doesn't align with standard terrorist methodology. Ilara raised an eyebrow ridge. Explain. He disabled the outpost's communication arrays and defense systems with surgical precision. He had access to the central command module. He could have killed everyone aboard. But instead, he locked the crew in their quarters with emergency rations and air supply. He stated his intention wasn't casualties, Ilara noted. Yes, but there's more. The data he extracted wasn't random. He specifically targeted archives from the Third Expansion Era, the period when Earth was allegedly destroyed. Ilara's membranes pulsed rapidly as realization dawned. He's building evidence, constructing a case. Like a prosecutor, Zentel agreed, not just a vengeful survivor. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent alert. Another Coalition facility had gone dark. This time, a high-security data repository in the core worlds, impossible to reach without passing dozens of security checkpoints. How is he doing this? Zentel wondered aloud. The answer came 3 hours later when Security Director Krell brought in a trembling Morveth technician from the repository. "Speak," Krell ordered. The technician's exoskeleton rattled with fear. I helped him. The human. He showed me evidence, recordings, command logs, of what happened to his world. And others. The technician looked up with compound eyes filled with shame. What we did, it wasn't peacekeeping. It was extinction. Similar reports began filtering in from across Coalition space. A Vraxian navigation officer, a Tellurian communications specialist, a Ridian security chief. All had aided the human, convinced by his evidence. Marcus Reed wasn't fighting alone anymore. In her private quarters, Ilara reviewed the latest security briefing when her terminal suddenly activated on its own. Marcus's face appeared on the screen. "Commander Voss," he said, "I believe you're different from the others. You question. You doubt." Ilara maintained her composure. "You've caused considerable chaos, Mr. Reed. The Coalition is not accustomed to such disruption." A faint smile crossed his face. "That's why Earth was destroyed. We specialize in disruption." "I have no proof your claims are true," she replied carefully, "but you suspect they are." He leaned closer to the camera. "The Coalition found Earth during its third expansion. They offered membership under standard terms, submission to central authority, cultural homogenization, resource contribution quotas. Humanity refused. Many species negotiate alternative arrangements," Ilara pointed out. "We weren't interested in negotiation. We wanted independence, the right to determine our own future." His eyes hardened. The Coalition classified that attitude as dangerously destabilizing to regional harmony. They couldn't allow a species so resistant to exist. "If what you say is true, why come forward now, after all this time?" "Because it's happening again." Marcus's expression grew urgent. "The Coalition has identified another world. Terra Nova, in the fringe territories. Pre-FTL civilization, showing the same independence tendencies as Earth. They're 3 weeks away from implementing another cleansing operation." Ilara felt cold dread spread through her. "How can you know this?" "The same way I know everything else. Your leaders are efficient at hiding the truth, but terrible at changing their patterns. Same classification codes, same euphemisms, preemptive stability measure, potential contamination source." The screen split to show classified Coalition documents, documents only the highest council members should have access to. "I need your help, Commander," Marcus said simply. "Not for Earth. It's too late for us. But not for Terra Nova." "If I believe you," Ilara said slowly, "what would you have me do?" "In 2 days, I'm going to broadcast everything, all the evidence of what the Coalition has done. I need someone on the inside, someone respected, to stand with me, to validate the truth." After Marcus's transmission ended, Ilara sat motionless, her mind racing. Throughout her career, she had believed in the Coalition's mission. Peace through unity, stability through order. But order built on mass extinction wasn't peace. It was tyranny. Her decision crystallized with cold clarity. She would need allies. The Coalition Capital Station Harmony's Reach glowed like a jewel against the backdrop of space, its elegant spires and crystalline domes a testament to cooperation among hundreds of species. At its heart stood the Grand Council Chamber, where the highest leaders gathered for an emergency session on the human crisis. Security had never been tighter. Every entrance was guarded by elite Morveth warriors. Sentinel drones patrolled the corridors. Quantum scramblers prevented unauthorized transmissions. None of it mattered. As the council convened, the main doors slid open. Marcus Reed walked in, unarmed, flanked by Commander Ilara Voss and a dozen Coalition officers from various species. War Minister Thorne leaped to his feet. "Guards, seize them immediately." "Stand down," Ilara commanded, her voice carrying the authority of 20 years of distinguished service. Any officer who interferes will be participating in the greatest cover-up in Coalition history. The chamber erupted in chaos as Marcus calmly approached the central podium. He placed a small device on the console, and suddenly every screen in the chamber, and across Coalition space, came alive with images. Earth, a beautiful blue-green world, seen from orbit. Coalition warships entering its system. Official communications offering membership under non-negotiable terms. Earth's refusal. The Council's deliberation and decision. Remove potential contagion. And finally, the horrifying imagery of orbital bombardment. Cities reduced to ash. Billions of lives erased in hours. Then came the evidence of 17 other worlds, all destroyed for the same reason. Refusal to surrender sovereignty. This is the truth your leaders have hidden. Marcus's voice echoed throughout Coalition space as the broadcast reached every planet, ship, and outpost. This is the peace they built, a peace of graves and silence. In the council chamber, stunned silence reigned. Some members seemed genuinely shocked, while others avoided all eye contact. High Counselor Drav finally spoke, his voice trembling. How did you access these records? They were purged from all databases. Not all, Marcus replied. Your founders were meticulous record keepers. They kept backups, physical archives stored in secret locations, insurance, perhaps, against each other. I found them, one by one. And what do you want now? Drav asked quietly. Vengeance. The destruction of the Coalition. Marcus shook his head. If I wanted that, I could have done it already. Your systems have more vulnerabilities than you realize. He looked around the chamber. What I want is acknowledgement, justice for those worlds, and a fundamental change in how the Coalition operates. Ilara stepped forward. The officers who stand with us, and thousands more across the fleet, believe in the Coalition's stated ideals. Peace, cooperation, unity. But true unity cannot be built on extermination of the unwilling. War Minister Thorne slammed his armored fist on the table. This is sedition. You have no authority to demand changes to our fundamental governance. Actually, we do, Ilara countered. Coalition Charter, Article 1, Section 3. If foundational principles are compromised by leadership actions, any serving officer may invoke the Restoration Protocol. She looked directly at Thorne. We are invoking it now. For 3 days, the Coalition stood paralyzed. The broadcast had reached every corner of its territory. Protests erupted on central worlds. Colonial outposts declared autonomy. Military vessels refused orders. In the end, the Council had no choice. They formally acknowledged the destruction of Earth and other resistant worlds. They established tribunals to identify those responsible for the cover-ups and atrocities. And most significantly, they rewrote the Coalition Charter, enshrining the right of species to maintain cultural and governmental autonomy while still participating in galactic cooperation. Marcus Reed stood at the viewport of the Eternal Dawn, watching stars streak by as the ship headed toward the fringe territories. Terra Nova has been warned, Ilara informed him as she joined him at the window. The cleansing operation has been canceled. They'll be contacted under the new protocols, as equals, not subjects. Marcus nodded, a complex mix of emotions crossing his face. It doesn't bring Earth back. No, Ilara agreed softly, but it honors your people's memory. Their sacrifice changed the galaxy. And now, he asked, what happens to the last human? That depends on you, she replied. We've identified 17 surviving deep space human colonies, small outposts established before Earth's destruction. They believe themselves alone, in hiding. They don't have to hide anymore. For the first time since she'd met him, Ilara saw something new in Marcus Reed's eyes. Not vengeance or determination, but something far more powerful. Hope. 6 months later, representatives from the human colonies took their place in the reformed Coalition Council. They'd brought with them perspectives and innovations that challenged thousands of years of established thinking. They were difficult, argumentative, creative, and uncompromising, exactly the catalysts the coalition needed to evolve. And through it all, coalition members whispered a new axiom that gradually replaced unity through order. Never underestimate a species fighting for its right to exist, especially if that species is human.